Podcast. Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. I know I've been quiet for quite some time. Sometimes you need a time for reflection as well when you put back things together. Maybe sometimes you don't have the topic or the inspiration to do something, but you know, it's what it is. So, in today's topic, we're going to be talking about bashing people or especially companies online. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about because I've seen something on TikTok that really puzzled me for a minute. And having individuals that have an entire motive. In the example of this young lady, she went on TikTok and complained about the fact that TJ Maxx didn't hire her, and she was covers in tattoos, not, I would say, the most specific tattoos ever either. She had it on her face, she had it on her throat, she was covered with tattoos. By the way, just for the record, I do have tattoos, so no bashing on this one. However, you have to be responsible when you have tattoos. You have to be responsible in understanding the consequences of, and that's from other people who have tattoos as well, the meaning of your tattoos, where you put them as well. And most of the tattoo artists will check with you if they want to put some on your face. So the fact that she used this and complained about it puzzled me for a minute. And I'm like, well, if you think about the way you are describing and the attitude you have, you might have affected your interview as well. Because when you're talking about interview, you have to show and be on your best behavior. You cannot be incoming condescendent because you think you know everything and you can do everything. Your arrogance, especially when you're talking about services, when you're talking about customer service, because this is face-to-face customer services, then you need to understand that you have to have the passion, the empathy, and trust me, I've been in that world as well. And there is days I did at the end. I call people on their behavior as well, because when somebody call you, hey, and they're like, I'm sorry, I'm a few feet from you, but no, my name is not Hey. And did you just talk to me this way? That is not proper. Or people coming in the aisle and screaming at you. And I watched it even as customers when people come and get their anger out of somebody else's because they're frustrated and they don't know how to do it. So they did it on the first person they see. Saw it many times. So back to this young lady. And she called out TJ Maxx. Maybe she was thinking it will create a big hootenanny and, a ban on TJ Maxx. No, it should not create any ban on TJ Maxx because this is customer service. Do your homework and look at the tattoos you had on your throat, which were very aggressive and kind of scary. If you look at it, it's like, holy crap. Okay, never mind. But you don't want to scare a certain the kids. You don't want to scare older people as well. So, you have to be mindful. You can cover them up, by the way, with makeup. That these days, you can cover your tattoos with makeup easily. So the fact that she was complaining wasn't the good things. And as her story evolved, because a lot of people actually responded very kindly, which was very good. And a lot of people who had tattoos as well responded to her. I felt it was very well handled by the community, actually. And to discover this morning, I don't know, I came across, I was back on TikTok, allegedly it's going to be banned. So that's another story for another day on this one, because it's interesting how things are happening here if it doesn't suit some people. And I think TikTok has been more popular than other platforms. We're not going to go to the conspiracy on this one because that's not a topic. But back to this young lady. And this morning discovered that this young lady actually she resell kitties and other items that actually TJ Maxx sells. So she's a reseller, meaning she came to TJ Maxx, or you could go to Home Goods actually and apply for the jobs, get those bags and get everything first as an employee and resell it online for 2, 3, 4, 5 times the amount. And that's what she does. So to me, the deception is this one, don't come, and it's for everybody, this one, with an attitude where you are a victim when you're not. You have to be accountable for your actions. And the community so far has been pretty good for what I've seen on TikTok. And I don't spend my day on TikTok, but for what I saw for the few times I've been online looking at it, because I do my word of the day on TikTok, like I do on Instagram with the pop-ups every day, or most of the day, or should I say 99.9% of the time. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, is your intention was to get the items first and resell it? Well, I think they made a good move. Two, if you're looking at retails, and I worked in retails, I worked on overnight as well in the past. And yes, we got some people who were heavily tattooed more than me working on overnight, but people who have tattoos are mindful because they cover themselves. Now, it depends on which industry you are. If you are in a tattoo parlor or in some entertainment, then you don't have to. If you are in like Target, TJ Maxx, or those big chain, they will allow some of the tattoo. They will allow people to have it, but you have to be mindful. Again, when you get tattoos is a story to tell. For me, it's a story. For me, and that's for a lot of people as well. When you have tattoos, those are telling a story, telling something. Now, if you're drunk, if you're underage, and you come and you're like 20 years old and you have no clue, and you're like, hey, everybody got a tattoo, I want a tattoo. Well, you need to sit down and wait until you really want one, and not based on the latest trend that's going on the street and you want to copy everybody because you want to be part of something. When I had tattoos, actually, I wanted a tattoo. I was 16 years old. My uncles had tattoos. I always wanted a tattoo. I waited to be 21. I could have gone at the age of 18, but I waited 21, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. So I went and I asked one of my uncles, actually, who was my mentor, and it was basically my first tattoo. He chose the first tattoo, actually, because I wanted the pause, and I'm glad I did not do the pause because the pause came later on, but on my ankle, because it would have looked, if it would have been black, it would have looked dirty for me from far away, so it wasn't what I wanted. But he picked the tattoos, and for me, it was passing the baton for his life to me to now go and travel the world, and that had a signification for me. But I waited to be ready, not because hey, everybody got one and woohoo. It's like, no. And I like to, when I went to that tattoo parlor a few years ago to do the rest of the tattoos I wanted, it was very interesting to see the sign saying kids under the age of 18 cannot have tattoos and you need a parental right, signature, blah, blah, blah. To me, it was very well done on this one. But back to this young lady. It's easy to go online. It's easy to bash people. It's easy to try to destroy a company's reputation when it's not founded. Some are founded, but should be done a different way. Some are not founded, like this young lady complaining and using an excuses when in fact the entire motive was revealed. It was very interesting. It was very different to what she was complaining. She also tried to say that the kids who are 16 years old cannot get a job, which, to be honest with you, is a lie. First of all, there is a law and regulation as well, because you cannot exploit a kid to be working more than specific hours during the day. They do not work on overnight. They work during the day. And most of them are in retail, grocery stores, actually. So it's easy to just say, well, how do kids can? Well, yes, they can. And in a farm, it's different, by the way, for farmers. Because, and I grew up in a very small town over in Europe, less than 1,500 people. And it was all farm. Well, not farmer, but the farms were all around us. And yes, they were going from sun up to sundown. We did it. When I was a kid, we did it because Nobody gives a crap at that the era where I was. So, but if you think about it, farmers have, yes, the kids help. You can ask a farmer if you can go and help. You can go to grocery stores. You can go to some of the retails as well. They will allow you to do that and work in retail, actually. And there is a lot of kids that I've seen around here where I'm at for the past 30 years, going in groceries, working in busings in restaurants. So, telling, oh, how the kids 16 years old cannot find a job, I'm like, well, that is not the point. As I said, I'm talking about this because it really hit home when I saw her and saw what she was attempting to do about TJ Maxx. And I'm not saying TJ Maxx is the best company in the world. I'm not saying they are the worst company in the world, but I don't think it is the best approach to go online and to start to bash a company that have done their due diligence. They have the right to employ or not somebody based on their competency. Now, if you showed up and it doesn't meet the mold or fit the mold, then you need to modify your appearances, meaning you need to play the part. When you do, and I'm a consulting person. I do, and I work with different companies. I represent my company. I am the face of my company. Having employees, the employees are your face of your company. Now, it is up to you to decide what kind of people you want within your company. Do you want somebody that will fit the mold or not? And when I say fit the mold, it's not we all have to look the same. But are you ready to be customer service oriented? This is not an easy job. I can tell you that. I would not want to be an accountant on some of the retail because I think I would go to jail. So seriously, because some people are beyond rude. So you have to be faced by that. Are you able to remove yourself from the equation when people are rude to you? Are you able to have the patience and the compassion, or even when people are trying to steal or trying to return stuff that basically don't have a receipt and they are saying it's from your store when it's not, try to rip you off. That happens every single day. Okay? So when you go to an interview, then dress up the part. Okay? If you have, like I said, if you have tattoos on your face, and some business are fine with tattoos on their face. Some government places are fine as well. When I was in corporate, because I don't have sleeves because I'm not a huge fan of sleeves. This is my personal take on tattoos. I like my individuals the way they are, but I had a couple on my arms, and I just made sure it was covered. I was mindful of the people around me, and I made sure I have sleeves. Now, when I was walking in the parking lot, I remember my clothes. My clothes. That sounds bad. Yeah, I did a strip. No, I did not. I just removed my jacket and I was it, or my pashmina, and I was fine. But I was mindful because there is people who gonna like it and some not. I don't have to impose what I have to anyone. And that's what we still don't understand. It's respecting everybody else's boundaries. Companies don't have the obligation to hire you. When I was going and sitting in interviews, because I have done that, I sat on interviews and I was interviewing a person, and I was reading actually the person. That was why the reason I was sitting in there, to see if the person will stay. Because most company, when they want to hire you, it's not for 15 minutes, okay? It takes a lot of money, and I remember that from, I forgot his name. He was such an interesting individual. I forgot his name. He was the CEO of... from Corn Ferry. I said the word Corn Ferry, the company Corn Ferry. I did work for them too. I love that company, actually. Very good company, Corn Ferry. But when I sat down with him and I had an interview with him, he said to me, you moved and you did a lot of things. Yes, as a consulting person, I'm going to be moving and do a lot of things. Yes, absolutely. I'm going from contracts to contracts and stuff like that. That was a permanent job. And he said, well, If we're hiring you, we want you to stay at least for 5 years. I say, well, I can stay for 5 or 10 years. I don't have a problem with that because they invest time and money on you. It takes money and time to train people. So going with the wrong intent, and that's why I was sitting in those interviews in the past, was to scan the person and see. And guess what? One interview that was one of the best one ever, the girl came in and she assumed, and I don't know where she got the idea, she would have become the manager for marketing. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting because you get hired in marketing, but this is not the manager position. And no, they're not going to give you the manager position to start with because it's a small company. It was on Korn Ferry. And I was listening to her and I asked her a question and she did not even answer properly because she really showed she was interested about the title. She wanted the title to go with the pay. It wasn't even being somewhere and climbing the corporate ladder. She just wanted the title of manager with the money. And when I walked away from that interview, I talked to Chris. It was Chris. And I told him, I said, I gave her 90 days. She's going to be gone within 90 days. I said, this is not for her. Guess what happened? Less than 90 days, she was gone because she wanted the title of manager. So a friend of hers got her a job as she was an office manager. That was it. And I was just like, okay, well, no surprise. Now, when you go to a job interview, it all depends on what is the first impression. Because the first impression will help you or sunk you, literally. And it doesn't matter if it's done in person or online. And a lot of people don't get that. I'm like, you don't show up in your flip-flop shoes unless it's a job at the beach, unless this is something that requires you to have flip-flop. Your attitude is your identity, is your calling card. It's people looking at you and like, wow, I don't want to deal with that. I'm not going to get along because somebody said that to me before, and I agree with 100%. It was many, many years ago. If I like you, I hire you. It doesn't matter if you have the skill or not. That's teachable. But if I feel we're connecting and we're going to be good and we're going to do this, this, and that, then I hire you. It's all based off, are we going to get along? How do I feel about your overall attitude? Are you open? Are you flexible? Are you connecting with me? And what is the overall attitude you've got? So if you showed up in an interview, not dressed to the part, and you're not being asked actually to spend thousands of dollars on anything. You can find the clothes in your closet and you can make do. I have done that in the past. You have to be creative. You don't have to go and find an excuse. Well, you could actually, but you don't have to run into an excuse to go and get a new suits or whatever. Again, the attitude. Are you coming humbled or are you a cocky, arrogant person? It doesn't matter if you know everything. It's what your attitude. Are you communicating properly? What is your intentions? And this young lady, they might have felt she wasn't being honest. And another thing too, because HR says, but I can call on any HRs when they're saying, well, don't look at your social medias. Bollocks. Everybody looks at your social media. So this young lady resells stuff. So guess what happened? One, they look at your Instagram, they're looking at your Facebook, they're looking at TikTok, they're looking at everywhere to see what are you putting out there. Now, if you show up half naked and you're doing things that not gonna go with the core value of the company, you're not gonna be hired. And it doesn't matter who you are and where you come from. Okay? I want somebody in my business, and I know other business owners, that are decent people, meaning you don't need to show up half drunk on Instagram or anywhere else. It was very interesting 20 years ago when, Facebook came up and everybody were like, woohoo, we're going to go party like animals. And they were putting things online. It's like, holy crap. I have somebody, I remember that I was coming up from an interview in the Bay Area, and I had somebody next to me who was, the stop was in Arizona actually, and the guy lived in Arizona, and I don't remember what he was doing, but he was a recruiter or a manager of some kind. And we strike a conversation. And he told me, he said, we're not supposed to be looking into social media, but I look in social media when I hire people. And if I don't like what I see, I'm not hiring you. And I don't care if you're good or not. Again, you are the face of the company. It doesn't matter if you are a secretary. It doesn't matter if you are a cashier. It matters for them because of their reputation. Because they don't want these kind of things. And that's not going to fit very well on some of the companies. Some will not care. Some do. So my whole spiel here for today, it was just thinking about this young lady who's complaining about a problem, and I think she wanted to create a mayhem where the mayhem didn't went anywhere, which is good, and the community responded very kindly. Actually, I know there is some satirics videos that have been made, but you have to think, people are going to see what you're doing. If you're a buyer and you resell stuff 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times the price, and you went and attempt to went to TJ Maxx and they discover that, they will never hire you for that. So it had nothing to do with your tattoo. It has nothing to do with your attitude, even though your attitude at the time you recorded that video was not the best one ever. I always said, don't record anything when you're angry. And I do the same when I am on my podcast. I will not record when I'm angry because that is not a good thing. When I was on Wisdom, which I might go back live on Wisdom, why not? Once in a while, it's not that bad to do that. I always made sure I wasn't angry because Wisdom, my podcast here, I can stop, I can record, I can cut it. Not a problem. Wisdom, it's live stream, meaning whatever you said is gone. You have to be mindful of that. And a lot of people who have a meltdown or want to say something like that end up to do not have a leg to stand on based on what's going on. So you have to be mindful when you are going to be interviewed. It's based on your personality and what they see. You have a first impression when people sees you and when they see me. And that first impression, it's a pass or break. Then comes the conversation. How do you talk? What is your attitude? What is the overall feeling of what your energy and what you're pulling out there? The other thing is your appearances makes a huge difference. So it doesn't matter if you have colored hair, if you have tattoos. Again, tattoos these days, you can go to any shop, you can pick up, cover up tattoos, makeup. You can soften the blow if you have scary tattoos or tattoo that are aggressive. But you have to look at the industry, you have to look at the intent, and you have to understand the impact of having ink on you. Color of the hair, I colored my hair since I was I experimented when I was 15, something like that. I went to platinum, to every color, not every color of the rainbow, but most of it. And I did crazy things with my hairdresser that was fun. However, moving forward, your hair now, you go red, purple, green, whatever you want. Those are awesome colors. However, it's not gonna impact compared to a tattoo and where you have the tattoo and what is the design of the tattoo. So again, posting things when you want to create a mayhem, just be cautious of what you're talking because people will check out. It's easy. These days, a click of a button, we can get everything about you. So the intent when you talk is 16 years old can find some jobs, yes, and it's mostly retail, it's mostly restaurants, mostly groceries. So don't say they cannot find a job, because that's not true. Now, when you got people complaining about I got these degrees and they're not hiring, then you know what? You start at the lower level and you start to up your experiences. And by doing this is how you do it. So a lot of people expect when they have a diploma and they paid $100,000 to $200,000 to have their dream job. Some come and some don't. So you're going to have to be creative. And even with your diploma, even if you're overqualified, because I heard that word so many times in my little universe, that you're overqualified because you got too many of this. Well, it's better to have somebody overqualified than underqualified. But you have to be creative. So think about, what is the first impression you make when you enter a room, and even at work. If you're not at work, everywhere else. That to me is one of the key for passing the interview. But also, is it really your intent to work over there for the goodness of gracious to work over there? Or do you have another intent, which she had another intent, which was to get some of those bags they're selling in items firsthand so she could resell it? So I think they did their homework. I don't think... and again, there is no bash. There is nothing wrong with what happened. So people should be shopping at TJ Maxx if they want to shop at TJ Maxx. And I think that individual should really look at herself and really think twice before putting things online like that. Because, again, truth always prevails. So people, everywhere we are, can find information like the one that I uncovered this morning. So I'm like, well, I'm going to talk about tattoos. I'm going to talk about interviews, and I'm going to talk about intentions, because when you have your intentions to go somewhere is not for the highest good, guess what? You get rejected. She got rejected, which is a good thing. And maybe she can learn something out of it or not, depends. But trying to bash companies because they don't agree with you, or you feel you got rejected is not fair, then you need to look at the angles where you are and what was your intention, what are you showing up for. And again, every actions have a reaction, no matter what it is. So, all my love, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye now. Universe Podcast.